Two Chairs No Waiting, episode number 481, Rance Howard interview part 2. Two Chairs No Waiting is brought to you each week by the fine folks over at weaversdepartmentstore.com. Drop by over at Weavers and pick up the Mayberry Trivia book by Scott Hopkins, 1,500 questions about the TV classic, The Andy Griffith Show. Something you don't want to miss. It's a great find. You can also pick up Aunt Bee's Apple Pie t-shirt. Great shirt. Love it. Head over to Weavers to check it out. WeaversDepartmentStore.com. Two Chairs No Waiting is also brought to you by donations from listeners just like you. Executive producer of episode number 481 is Pat and Neil Coleman. Hello, everybody. I'm Alan Newsom, your host for Two Chairs No Waiting. I want to thank Pat and Neil for helping out with the show and being executive producers. Thank you very much. And thank you for showing up as well. You guys, you're the reason I do the podcast. You're fans just like me. We sit around and talk about the Andy Griffith Show all the time, right? We can do it. We can always come up with something to talk about. I've been doing this podcast almost 10 years. I've done 480 episodes so far. And so like you, I can't quit talking about the Andy Griffith Show, evidently. This week, we're going to be hearing part 2 from Rance Howard. It's fairly long, so I'm not going to blather along too much here. This is from John Lane. So John Lane is a fellow podcaster who does episodes about the Andy Griffith Show. He used to. This is John's episode that we're going to be listening to, and it was from the podcast called Goober Says Hey. Goober Says Hey. Well, that's Floyd or somebody saying it. But Goober Says Hey is his name of his podcast. It's kind of on hiatus because he's going off to college. Not Goober, John. I don't know if Goober could go to college. But I talked to him when we were at Mayberry in the Midwest a few weeks ago and asked him if I could replay his interview with Rance. Now, this interview was recorded on December the 20th, 2016. So it was right before Christmas, so you're going to hear that. And so if you didn't hear last week's episode, head over there and check that out because this is the beginning. And we go straight into a question that John's going to have for Rance. So if it seems a little shocking going in, remember this was part of the long interview going to it. So we're going to hear that, and then we're going to hear from Randy Turner with This Week in Mayberry History. He's got a great report on Ellen Corby. So we're going to enjoy that a lot. So, John, I wanted you to go ahead and take it away. Thank you again for letting us use the podcast. Guys, I know you're going to love this. Thanks for joining John here. John, thank you, and take it away.
Did you know any of the cast members before the show? Had you met any of them?
There was one guy I knew who eventually almost became a regular or semi-regular, Hoke Howe. He became one of I think the Darling family's son-in-law or something. But man, I knew Hoke. Hoke and I had worked together in New York, but he wasn't in the show initially. So yeah, no, I didn't know anyone.
Didn't you know George Lindsey?
Yeah, George Lindsey and I had worked on a craft theater together. I wish I could think of the name of it. I can't. On that show, because George and I have similar backgrounds, and George and I hit it off pretty well. And also, I knew George. George had worked on an episode had done a pilot for a series that Dean Jones starred in. I don't think it ever sold as a series, but they made several episodes. Clint had a role in, and that was through Sheldon Leonard. It was called My 15 Blocks was the name of the pilot, and it was going to be the name of the series. It was about a cop who covered 15 blocks in, I think, New York, probably. And George had played like the heavy in that episode, in the pilot of the series. So I knew George from there. Yep.
How did Clint get into the show?
When he was like 2 years old, he was a cute kid, and I'm kind of Western myself in a way, and he had a cowboy hat, and he had a leather jacket that was fringed, and he had a pair of blue jeans, and he had cowboy boots, and he had a little pistol that he strapped on his hip. And one day, my late wife, Jean, brought him over to the set on the Andy Griffith Show to visit his brother. And, and they just hang around. And, well, Bob Sweeney, the director, took one look, and he looked up at Aaron Rubin, and he said, "We got to put this kid in an episode." Well, Aaron Rubin was he was a story editor, and he wrote a lot, and Aaron agreed. And so in just a week or two, here comes this character in the script named Leon, who's always going around, doesn't say anything, but is always offering a bite of his peanut butter sandwich to people. And so that was how Clint got that, and how I got in that show.
Did your career kind of halt when they were doing the show?
Well, I don't know that it did. I was always available. Maybe, it might have been a situation where I didn't look for work quite as hard as I might have as a freelance actor, but not noticeably. I mean, I continued to do things. I remember I went on location and did Death Valley Day, a couple of episodes of Death Valley Days, and there were other shows I did. I can't really say that my career slowed down. I can say that my career wasn't going great before the Andy Griffith Show, but I'm just a freelance character actor, and there wasn't a lot of work for me at that. I got some, I got work, but not like George Lindsey did.
What was it like when the show was ending?
Sad. Everyone hated to see the show end. I remember we had some kind of a dinner or banquet or something, and Ken Berry was going to almost continue as the end. It'd be similar to the Andy Griffith Show. They're going to call it the Rural Free Delivery or RFD or something like that. So the hope was that Ken, that Ken would carry on. The spirit of the Andy Griffith Show would carry on. They're going to have Gomer and Goober, and Ron wasn't going to be in it, but and it had Francis Bobbier was going to be in it. So the idea was just to segue right into Mayberry RFD, and so that there was hope there that the spirit of the show would continue. But Andy had 8 wonderful years, and Andy had loved the show, and we hated to see it end. It wasn't really a downer. It was, okay, we're shifting gears here.
What was the 1986 reunion movie like?
Oh yeah. Well, that was great. Bob Sweeney was directing that. We had one of the same writers had either totally written it or had written part of it. It was with Andy and Don, and it was like just revisiting, and it was like doing an episode of the Andy Griffith Show, which was so much fun. Anita Corso was in it. They couldn't enlist Francis. Francis didn't want to do it, so we missed Francis. But it was like old times. It was like a reunion, really. I remember I had a little part in it, and my late wife was there with me, and we were all having dinner at this little restaurant. We were all sitting in a dining room having dinner and laughing and talking. And Andy came up and he said, "Yeah," he says, "this is just the way it should be." He said, "Here, you and Gene, and there's Ronnie over there, and John." And he says, "Yeah." He said, "Yeah. This is just like old times." And I never quite had seen Andy that mellow before. It was a memorable show. You know, I think we all enjoyed it very much.
Did Don and Ron have a good relationship?
Oh, yeah. They had a great relationship. They were, best of friends. They were, I don't want to exaggerate. They were closer than brothers. They were just really, really good friends. I remember at Don's funeral, Andy was talking about he was there just before Don passed away. He said, I was talking to Don, and I was holding his hand, and he says, I think he understood me. He says, but he says, then Don was gone. He was such a good friend that he was there the last minute.
What was Ron's relationship like with Don?
Good. They had a good relationship. It was like Don was like an uncle. I wanted to say, I started to say a little aloof, but he wasn't. He was always there at the right time. Like he was teaching Ron a magic trick. I don't know why, but for some reason Ron needed to learn a magic trick with a coin. And Don was there with a coin magic trick, and he taught it to him, and Ron could do it. He could do it very, very well. Don was very respected. He was very respected by. I respected Don tremendously, and I think everyone did. To answer your question, Don and Ron were not really. They weren't that close. They were, they were friends. But they weren't good buddies. But they were friends. They were good friends. I remember one time Don's daughter, she came on the set, and Don was talking with her, and Ron was there, and I don't know, just into the conversation and laughing and talking and joking. Remember him slapping Ron on the back and saying to Karen, "Yeah, be nice, this boy. He's going to be big in the business."
What did that show mean to your family?
You know what? It was a big thing in our family that suddenly, here I am, a freelance actor, just kind of squeaking by. And Ron, in the Andy Griffith Show, we're taking his money and salting it away. But his education was paid for. His future. Wasn't Gene and I sitting around at night saying, "Oh my God, how are we going to send the boy to college? What are we going to do when it's time for him to go to college?" Because he had that paid for, and that was a relief. That was a huge relief to just get that load off. Don't have to worry, Okay, so so I'm not able to send the kid to college. He's going to be able to send himself. And unfortunately, the same thing came along and happened with Clint. The boys working in the business really freed my conscience. I no longer felt the need to maybe I should get out and be pumping gas at a filling station or working in a department store or something somewhere to try to build on the boys' college education for the future. We always put education pretty high up, and it was always important to us. But I knew that, I don't have to worry about educating the boys. Both shows meant a lot for that reason.
What's it like being in movies directed by Ron?
Just fun. Ron and I know each other very well, and we have almost a shorthand when he's explaining how he wants the scene to play or how he wants the character to react. Ron is very explicit, and he understands acting really probably better than I do. But he can make what he wants, what he's trying to achieve with the scene or with the character, so clear and so vivid that as an actor, I never feel in the dark. I never feel, God, I wonder if I'm giving him what he wants. You know, it's like we speak the same language.
What was it like being on a couple episodes of Seinfeld?
That was, that was wonderful. Jerry, the whole cast is so generous. By generous, I mean, you know, they don't try to hog the scene. They're generous in letting the other actors have their moment. They're not stingy. You know, they let the other actor have a laugh, get a laugh. You know, Jerry, the whole cast was that way. They were such a friendly cast. They were never, you know, they never felt threatened by an incoming actor, by a guest actor coming in. They never felt threatened. They were just always so helpful. They wanted the other actor to achieve, to do well in the scene. It was such a great atmosphere to work in as an actor.
What was it like playing a priest for so many years?
That's interesting. I don't know. I love to play priests. I played a lot of priests. I played some doctors and some judges, and lawyers, cowboys. I don't know. There must be something about me that exudes religion or priesthood or ministry or something, because someone, I don't know who it was, someone did a sort of a lot of research and wrote me a nice letter, you know, just congratulating me and saying, are you aware that you have played more men of the cloth than any other actor in Hollywood? And no, I wasn't aware of that. It's a role, and I love acting. I enjoy acting. You know, priest usually has nice moments, and I like playing priest because there's sort of somewhere to go with a priest role. I don't know if that makes any sense, but anyway, I love playing priest. Ministers, not necessarily priests. I like ministers. I like preachers. Preachers are good too.
What was the reaction to Andy's death?
I don't, you know, that's hard to say. I miss Andy. While Andy and I weren't that close, we talked on the phone. We get on the phone and talk a little bit. Andy passing on, he left a void in my life. There's no Andy to call up and say, "Hey Andy, how you doing? You know, what's happening?" I must confess, I shed some tears over Andy. I was sorry to see Andy go. He was a good man. He was really a good man.
So what's next for you?
I'm looking for work. Well, I'll tell you what, I say that, and I do have, there's a show, Barry Van Dyke is going to direct it. And I have a role in it. They don't fully have their financing yet, but they think they're going to get it, and they think it's going to shoot starting in the spring. And that would be my next job. My wife, she has Alzheimer's, and I'm her caregiver. You know, a little of it depends on how she's doing.
What's it like seeing your granddaughter, Bryce, have so much success?
It's wonderful. You know, that girl, she knew early in her life what she wanted to do. And as a result, she worked toward it. She took voice. She took dance. She studied acting. I remember my late wife took her to see a Broadway play, a Broadway musical. And Gene told me this. I wasn't there, but Gene told me this, that she and Bryce had gone out during intermission and just, standing around and talking about the show. And Bryce was talking how much she loved it. And my wife had said, well, Bryce, if you study and work hard, when you grow up, you might be able to do that. You might be able to do a show like that. And Bryce looked up at Jean and she said, Grandma, I could do it now. Well, that's kids' confidence. She's always had that. And she is a consummate actress. She knows she can do anything. And so anytime she gets a role and the director wants her to do something, she can deliver because she knows she studied it. She never took the business for granted. She learned it. You can say she really knows her craft, or if you want to call it an art, she knows her art. She is like a good plumber or a good carpenter. She knows how to do it. She knows how to use the tools. She has the tools, and she knows how to use them.
And finally, what's your advice to young actors out there?
Wow. I'll tell you what an actor told me once. I don't go around offering a lot of advice because I don't feel like I really know an awful lot. But there was an actor, a very good actor named Van Heflin. And I studied at the University of Oklahoma at the drama school. And he came there. He was promoting a movie called Green Dolphin Street. And so while he was in town, Norman, Oklahoma, promoting Green Dolphin Street, he came out to the drama school to talk to the students. And he told us how tough it was. He said it is really hard. And he said, I don't know why anyone, really wants to do it. And he says it's a tough business. It's really tough. It's a cutthroat business. He says if there's anything else in the world you think you would be happy doing besides being an actor, he says please get up and walk out of here and go do it. Do something else that you think you'd be happy, that you think you might be productive doing. That, he said, that'd be my advice. Find something else if you possibly can. But he said, if you can't find anything else that you think you'd be happy doing, he said, rest assured that there will be a niche in the business for you. You can find something in the business you can do. It may not be what you want. You may not be the actor. You may not be the director. You may not be the writer. He said, but you can find something in the business where you can stay in the business and be part of it. And that was relief to me to hear that, because I knew how tough it was. But to hear that maybe, that there's some little glimmer of hope. If I couldn't be an actor, maybe I could be a prop man. Maybe I could be a set painter. Maybe there's something I could do to contribute to the business, to stay in the business. That helped me. I'll tell you another thing that helped me is when I was looking for a drama school. I was looking for a place to study acting. And I'd gone down to Stillwater, Oklahoma, to Oklahoma A&M, agriculture and mechanics. But they didn't have a drama school. They had a speech class, but that wasn't what I wanted. And I was a pretty good boxer at that time, and I thought Maybe they had a boxing team. Maybe I could get on a boxing team. But I went to the gymnasium, and no, they didn't have a boxing. They had a wrestling team. Well, I didn't want to be a wrestler. I mean, coming down from the stairs, from having talked to a coach, I looked up, and there was a big sign, big bold letters said, "If you think you have come to the end of your rope, tie a knot in it and hang on." Now, that is great philosophy for an actor. And there have been times when I thought, well, I think I may have come to the end of my rope. But no, I'm going to tie a knot in it, and I'm going to hang on, because I'm going to get a part. I'm going to get a show. I'm going to be able to work in this business. And sure enough, I did. I could. That would be my advice. Tie a knot in it and hang on.
All right. Thank you, Rance. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you. Great talking with you, John. You have a good one.
Thank you. You too.
All right, guys. That was the interview with Rance Howard. Now, if you didn't hear part one, I want to encourage you to go back and listen to it. John did a great job with this. If you go back, you can go over and listen to the entire thing. Now, I edited a little bit throughout these interviews, but mainly it was just to remove some ums and ahs and things like that. So John did a great job while he was asking the questions to sit there and let Rance answer the questions and think about his answers. Amazing job he did. So it's a pleasure to get to share these with you, especially since Mr. Howard's passed away. This interview had information that I don't think I had ever heard anywhere else. It's fun to hear him talk about his granddaughter, Bryce. And you may have noticed at one point in there where John actually asked him about Andy and Don's relationship. I mean, Ron and Don's relationship. And Rance misunderstood and answered about Andy and Don. And then John followed up again with the Ron and Don question. Great job interviewing. It was fun to hear. It's a lot of fun. Now, John, as I said, is a young man. He started this, I think he was about 15 years old when he started trying to do his podcast. And he kind of put it on hiatus when he went off to college last year. So if you want to go and listen to it over at Goober Says Hey, there's links in our show notes that will take you to the episodes. And you can check out his other episodes there. He did an interview with me, I think, for toward the end of the run of the show, maybe even the last one. Maybe that's why he quit. He was like, oh, that was horrible. I'm quitting. So anyway, thanks again, John, for letting us do this. I know everybody enjoyed it. I know I certainly did. It's always fun to hear things like this. Now, we have another treat for you, Randy Turner, and This Week in Mayberry History.
Welcome to This Week in Mayberry History, a report by special correspondent Randy Turner of the Gomer and Goober Pyle Comic Book Literary Guild of the Mayberry Historical Society.
Ellen Corby was born Ellen Hansen in Racine, Wisconsin on June 3, 1911, to Danish immigrant parents. She became interested in theater while in high school in Philadelphia, where her family had relocated, and then moved to Atlantic City in 1932, where she worked as a chorus girl for a brief time. Later that year, she moved to Hollywood, hoping to break into the film industry. She did just that, but not in the way she had hoped. Her first 12 years there were spent working as a script assistant for RKO Pictures and Hal Roach Studios, working on, among other projects, Our Gang comedy short subjects. She met cinematographer Francis Corby, and they married in 1934, though they divorced 10 years later, and she never remarried. Ellen took acting lessons on the side during those 12 years and was finally cast in a small, uncredited part in the 1933 war film Storm at Daybreak. She was an extremely busy character actor in small parts during the next 3 years, appearing in 28 films. Ellen then took 9 years off from acting before next appearing in her first credited role in the 1945 film noir Cornered. Likely her most remembered uncredited role came in 1946 when she played Miss Davis in It's a Wonderful Life. During the run on the savings and loan, when George Bailey used his honeymoon money to tide his customers over, she meekly asked if she could have $17.50, causing George to kiss her on the cheek. In 1948, she had only her second credited role, but also her most successful. In the film I Remember Mama, she played the supporting role of Aunt Trina, a performance that earned her the Golden Globe as Best Supporting Actress, and also earned her an Academy Award nomination. But it was in the field of television that she would be best known. Her first television appearance was in a 1950 episode of the anthology show Stars Over Hollywood. She quickly became a popular television character actor, appearing especially often in westerns. She also played recurring character Henrietta Porter, a newspaper publisher, in 24 episodes of the western Track Down between 1958 and 1959. Before she appeared in Mayberry, she coincidentally played two different characters with the last name of Mayberry in 1960. She was Mabel Mayberry in the Jerry Lewis film Visit to a Small Planet, and was Lorna Doone Mayberry in an episode of Bonanza. In 1963, near the end of the third season, she appeared in the Andy Griffith Show as what at first seemed a sweet old lady parting reluctantly with her deceased husband's machine in Barney's first car, though viewers soon learned she was actually con artist Mert Hubcaps Lesh. She also appeared in the Mayberry universe in 1964 and 1969 in two episodes of Gomer Pyle USMC. Of course, Ellen is best known as Grandma Walton in the series The Waltons. She first played the role in the 1971 TV movie The Homecoming, and was the only adult actor other than Richard Thomas to reprise a role in the ongoing series. And Thomas was only 20 years old and so barely an adult actor. Ellen played Grandma Walton from 1971 until 1977, when she suffered a massive stroke that impaired her speech and mobility. She later returned for another season with her character also portrayed as recovering from a stroke. She then reprised the role in 5 of the 6 Walton movies that were later made. Ellen won 3 Emmy Awards and a Golden Globe for her work in the series. Ellen passed away at the age of 87 in 1999. That's it for this week. Thanks for listening, and remember to take Andy's advice and go out there and act like somebody.
Well, thank you, Randy. And if you want to make sure you don't miss any of Randy's posts over at the Gomer and Goober Pyle Comic Book Literary Guild, send an email to turnersgrade@gmail.com, and he'll make sure you're notified when he posts them. Somebody in the chat room just mentioned that Ellen Corby was 52 when she played Hubcaps Lash. That kind of hurt me because that's how old I am. And, I always thought Hubcaps Lash was kind of old, and that's how old I am. That hurts. That hurts. So, Kentucky Mike in the chat room, thank you very much for, I'm going to have to go get my walking stick and walk with it, I guess, before I leave here. Folks, I hope you guys had a great time tonight. I did. Thanks again to John. Thanks to Pat and Neil Coleman for helping support the show. Thank you for helping support the show as well. Head over to weaversdepartmentstore.com. Buy some stuff. Make Mrs. Weaver happy. And help me keep this podcast going. If you'd like to help us, you can do it those ways. You can also head over to patreon.com and show your love for the show. Hey, guys, hey, thank you for being here. I'd love to hear from you. You can give me a call at, as soon as I get the music going here, 888-684-8415. And you can also just email me at floyd@imayberry.com. All that information is at twochairsnowaiting.com. So if you forgot anything, go to twochairsnowaiting.com, click contact, you're good to go. That's all you got to do. Folks, I love hearing from you. I hope you enjoy hearing from me. So keep coming to the Two Chairs and share the love. Tell people about it. We'll see you next time right here on Two Chairs No Waiting, your Mayberry podcast. Have a great week.